JJ the CPA here. I'm going to say it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. You know, I've been warning employers for quite some time now about employees that are saying, you know what? I appreciate you got your PPP money, but I'm not coming back to work, or I'm not going to let you pay me because I can make more off unemployment. Well, the problem with that I've been saying for a long time is that for someone to get unemployment, they are indicating to not only the state agency, but now the feds, in essence, through the state unemployment office, that they don't have a job, that their business that they work for is closed and can't pay them. Now, they may answer a question that, yes, the business is closed. Yes, it's due to COVID. But they also are required to answer that they also don't have a job, that their employer can't pay them, that their employer has laid them off, furloughed them. So if an employer has received PPP money, probably you know by now, it doesn't matter if you're open or closed, whether the employee's working or not. The purpose of PPP is to pay the employees. And it was really meant to be a way that the employees then would not have to go on unemployment, right? From the standpoint of that employee still has a job, they're making what they've always made, they're getting the benefits, they're still part of the group. There is something very demoralizing to an employee when, even if it's temporarily, the employer says, hey, you don't have a job right now. So when an employee goes, or when a person goes to claim unemployment, and I know I've said it like, well, they're committing a crime or it's wrongdoing. Well, the SBA came out yesterday and has made clarifications here, and there's now definitely going to be inquiry of those that are collecting unemployment but work for an employer that has PPP funds. There's ways to connect these dots. Maybe not today, but eventually. And I don't even mean like, well, maybe. But when people start taking advantage of the system and then it happens and becomes more prevalent, then there are ways that the government will find to basically wire the two systems together to match up, which is not hard at all, right? Let's start with the Social Security number of the employee and the employer identification number of the employer, right? You got W-2s right here that match up with the employer. Well, you got unemployment that matches up with an ID number and a Social Security number. And by the way, unemployment income is taxable. So there already is going to be reported in that employee's Social Security number, the W-2 and the unemployment benefits. Boom. I mean, and then it's going to be very easy to know, was that employer a recipient of PPP funds? So over here, you got an employer with an EIN that got PPP that issues W-2s. You have an employee over here that got unemployment, that got a 1099 for the unemployment, or will. You match those two together. So I'm reading an article right now, and the SBA came out on the 3rd, frequently asked questions 40 through 42 address this. Now, the first thing is, it's something that I've been talking about, which is employers need to protect themselves, because the employer can be held responsible for such wrongdoing, or at least be included in the responsibility of this wrongdoing, if they don't properly document that they offered the job to the employee, or that they were offering to them that they were going to pay them, and then the employee said, nope, no thanks, I'm going to make more off unemployment, therefore I'm not coming back. Now, here's the key. We're not talking about when they open, right? So a lot of employees are still thinking it's when they open that I have to come back to work. A lot of employers think Well, do I need to pay them if I'm not open? Yeah, PPP is open or not, working or not. PPP is, here's an employer that has employees, they're closed, partially closed, can't pay, or actually doesn't matter if they can or cannot, it's they've been closed, they've got uncertainty, they've got issues that are affecting the financial well-being of the business, they got PPP, and the PPP, the main thing of it, and really the most important thing of it, is the wages, is the payroll, right? That's separate from the self-employed. So if you're in a set of circumstances and you're an employer and you've offered to somebody that you're going to pay them and you're closed and they go, no, I'm going to get unemployment. And they think, well, I don't know. I guess it's not a big deal. They're collecting unemployment. I'm going to have money left over and then I'll just pay back at the end. But what the SBA is coming out with is that for you to avoid being penalized, and I don't know what the penalty is, okay, but there'll be one. But for you to not be a contributor to this wrongdoing, and I'm reading an article that's talking about it being a criminal activity. I mean, using crime. You know, it's so funny how when we hear criminal activity, it's almost like people get cynical about it. And it's like, well, I'm not robbing a bank. Well, you're not doing things properly, and so where is it that properly is not a crime and properly is a crime? So the crime is an answer to a question saying they don't have a job, they have an employer that cannot pay them. Okay? Not, can your employer pay us? Or can your employer pay you as much as you're going to make on unemployment? No. Oh, well, then you get unemployment. That's not what the question says. So I've been saying to employees going back, I'm email specific from one of our, one in the community that seems to come to my live show a lot, Tracy. But what this is indicating is that the employer will not be held responsible. The employer will not have an issue on forgiveness on the amount that they received, that in essence, they had an employee that didn't come back to work and chose to stay on unemployment. So the employer needs to document this. How? I mean, think of how you document anything, whether it's an email, a letter that they sign, saying, you know, I've offered you a position, I've offered you a job, I've offered to continue to pay you, and you've said no. Something, anything's better than nothing, right? So I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you what is that documentation, but something is better than nothing. Because when it comes down to it, and there's gonna be potentially some reckoning on this, okay, which really is not gonna be that hard. I mean, it's just matching up socials with FEINs, and boom, here goes a letter to your employee, boom, here goes a letter to the employer, both or one or the other, with a question from the government and the federal government. So employers, get yourself documented up related to this. Employees, if you're collecting unemployment and your job can pay you what you were paying, you need to take it. You need to take it. In my opinion, the only way you're not taking it is if you've been fired, you're not coming back. You've quit, you're not coming back. You do not have a job to go back to. You are not going back to that job. And then you can say, all right, well, I'm okay, right? Now, if you have an employer that didn't get PPP, whole different ballgame. But if you have an employer, you as in the employee, you have an employer and they got PPP funds, they're offering you to come and work, or even if you're staying at home and they're offering to pay you, and you don't take it, there's going to be wrongdoing. There's going to be a reckoning. Employers, you need to be on top of this. So it's just something I've been talking about for a while, but it's now out. Okay, go to jjthecpahelp.com. I've got a copy of the SBA latest FAQs. You'll see it, questions 40 through 42. There's no email to enter. You can just go to that website, you click, it's yours. There's no booby traps. So at the end of the day, all these little things that people thought, well, I'm going to get away with this, or I'm going to do that, or the employees are like, I found a way that I'm going to be able to collect a little more money. And the employers are like, what? I've got PPP money. Well, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So protect yourself, both sides. Here's how you rectify it. Right now, get yourself documented, employers. Right now, employees, get off that unemployment and start getting paid by your employer. All right? All right. Hey, listen, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.